Hello everyone, welcome to another Chatbox podcast. My name's Ben Lister. Today's interview, episode 19, is with Richard Parsons from Radio Scarborough. Here we go.
Okay.
Hello everyone, welcome to another Chatterbox podcast, here for episode 19. How are you doing today? Right, let's crack on. As you know, each week I have a guest to talk about their career or job, so let's crack on with this week's guest. From Scarborough Radio and Radio 1, it's broadcaster Richard Parson. Hello, Richard Pearson. Hello, Richard.
It is Richard Pearson, Ben, and it's Radio Scarborough, not Scarborough Radio. A lot of people make that mistake. But there is an outfit called Scarborough Radio, but they're nothing to do with us.
Welcome along. How are you today?
I'm absolutely fine, thank you.
That's good. 5 questions about your radio and broadcasting career, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
You ready to rumble in the jungle?
I am, certainly. I like a good rumble.
Let's go for it. Question 1. Where did you start your broadcast career?
Well, really, I started my broadcasting career writing for music papers because that's how I got noticed by somebody. But I literally started my broadcasting career doing a weekly show at the YMCA in Tottenham Court Road in London.
Wow, what a start to your journey.
Well, I'd always wanted to be in radio. I used to make my own radio programs on a cassette recorder when I was a young teenager. So I was just looking for the opportunity to get into radio. In those days, it was much harder because there weren't that many stations. There's only really 4 network stations, all BBC. And there were quite a few local stations in London, but they were heavily subscribed. So I just got in where I could, which was at the YMCA. And from there, I went to Radio 1 and Capital as a freelance.
Wow, what a start to your career. And also, there's also another Capital presenter who I know called Martin Collins.
I think he probably came after me. I'm not aware of him. But the start of my Radio 1 career was an absolute baptism by fire. I went for an interview and I got a job researching, but the senior producer in charge of the program I was researching also said, "How would you like to interview celebrities?" I said, "I'd love to interview celebrities." He said, "Well, look, we've been trying to get an interview with Muhammad Ali, who's doing a guest appearance at the Rainbow in Finsbury Park next weekend, but we can't get anywhere. If you can go and get an interview with Muhammad Ali," he said, "I'll give you a couple of passes to get into the event. You've got yourself a job." I went, "All right." So the most famous man in the world at that time, Muhammad Ali, and he was protected by so many minders, it's unbelievable. But I actually got the interview. By hook or by crook. It's a long story. I pulled all sorts of strokes to get it, but that got me my job interviewing celebrities at Radio 1. And so I started at the top and I've been working my way down ever since.
Yeah, and also one of my inspirations, I know that Muhammad Ali has been on one of my hero of broadcasting's program quite a lot, Michael Parkinson.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he was a great man. I mean, he just had more charisma than anybody I've ever met in my life. I mean, you just felt it the minute you met him. It was like electric, and he was an absolutely lovely man as well. He was really helpful with me and really great with all his fans. He gave them a lot of time, more so than a lot of far lesser celebrities.
Who was that, sorry?
Muhammad Ali.
Nice. Have you ever met Parky?
No. Which is quite funny, isn't it? Because him being a Yorkshireman as well and working for the same outfit as me. But we tended to stick pretty much within our own program boundaries, unless he was a guest on one of our programs, which I don't think he was whilst I was working in radio or TV, then the chances were our paths wouldn't cross. apart from sometimes in the BBC club. But I never saw him in there either.
That's brilliant story. Question 2. Who were your inspirations in broadcasting growing up?
Well, when I was a kid, a really young kid, that there wasn't any Radio 1. There was only the Light programme. And so every Saturday I used to listen to Jack Jackson's Record Roundup, which was one of the few programmes on the Light programme that actually played pop music. So that was where I started. But later on, when I started listening in the 70s again with more of a critical ear, it was definitely Terry Wogan, because he just broke all the rules of broadcasting in an absolutely brilliant way, and was, for me, the consummate radio presenter. I much preferred him on radio to TV. But the other thing about Terry was every morning when I used to sort of start late and work late at Broadcasting House, that I'd be turning up for work about 10:30, just as Terry was coming out of Broadcasting House, having finished his breakfast show. And he was so nice. He always said, "Good morning, how are you?" He hadn't a clue who I was. It was about a year. I'd been there about a year before we were formally introduced. And then he said, "Oh, right, that's what you do then." And he was a really nice guy. I wasn't keen on his politics, I'll be honest, but as a person, it was absolutely delightful. He was a great bloke.
And also, my top 3 presenters are Tony Blackburn, Terry, and Ken Bruce.
Ken Bruce, yes, he's sort of. Every time I've heard him, he sounded absolutely great. I mean, he's a really good professional broadcaster. Tony Blackburn. I think I told you this before. There used to be a tea trolley, went round the various floors of Broadcasting House, where you get your morning cup of tea and a BBC cheese scone, which were absolutely wonderful. And Tony Blackburn was frequently in the same line for the tea trolley as I was, but we never really spoke. In fact, I didn't really meet Tony Blackburn until I was working in TV, and I was working at BBC Pebble Mill on Pebble Mill at 1, and Radio 1 were doing Radio 1 week, and they were doing it in Birmingham that week. And so we had some of the DJs on Pebble Mill at 1, including Tony Blackburn. And what we did to tie in with Radio 1 week, it was like we did a sort of It's a Knockout with all the DJs. But it was quite funny because the controller of Radio 1, Derek Chinnery, came and had a word with me. I knew him from when I'd been at Radio 1. And he said, "Just one thing, Richard." I said, "What?" He said, "Tony Blackburn can't be involved in any events that include water." I went, "What?" He said, "It's in his contract. We are not allowed to include him in any events that include water." So I just burst out laughing. I'm not sure why that was, but it could be something to do with his hairstyle.
Maybe,
if you
yeah.
drift.
Have you ever met Ken Bruce?
No, he came along after I'd left radio.
Fair.
In fact, I can't remember when he started. I think he might have even come along after I left the BBC entirely. I left in '85. I'm not sure when Ken Bruce started. Well, certainly on Radio 2. Do you know?
I'll have to double check that. But
right.
Yeah. Question 3. What is your favourite part about the job?
Ooh. I think my favourite part about the job is all of it. I mean, it's a bit like being a football manager. You've got all sorts of different personalities to manage, all sorts of different teams to play against in terms of having to do different programs for different people. And it's my job to pull all that together and turn it into something that as a whole is worthwhile and something people will want to listen to. And I think that's what I enjoy most. It's a bit like being the conductor in a classical orchestra. You've got lots and lots of different instruments, and you've got to get them all to play together harmoniously. And that's what I enjoy doing. You know, I love to put something together and see a good result come of it.
Yeah, brilliant. And it's good to see the end product. Question 4. How has COVID affected your life and line of work?
Well, it's affected my life the same as it's affected everybody else's. I've been practically housebound for the last 12 months. I did actually manage to get away on holiday last September, but I had to cut my holiday in half because I had to get back and go into quarantine, obviously. In terms of work, it's been really hard to cope with, because what it's meant is that for a while we couldn't do any live programs at all. And even since, we've been trying, basically because it's my job to look after the presenters' welfare. So I've been making sure that we don't have one live show following another live show. So there's plenty of time to clean the studio and sanitize everything, etc., etc. So it's actually meant a lot more work for me, because I've been having to schedule and coordinate a lot of pre-recorded programs and make sure they're topical when they go out. So it's added to my workload, but I think we've managed to keep things turning over at a reasonable rate. So hopefully the end result hasn't been too badly affected.
Do any presenters do their shows from home at your station?
Oh, yeah.
And do some do it in the studio, some do it at home?
Well, more have been doing it on. It's a combination, really. We live in the studio, pre-recorded programs, and live programs broadcast from their homes. So it's a combination of all three.
Do you do any presenting, or are you more behind the scenes these days?
I'm like super sub. I step in if somebody's ill at the last minute or for any reason can't do it. And in my time I've presented all sorts of different programs. I occasionally help out Eliza Carthy with the Almost Acoustic show. Previous to that, I was doing part of it with Cresta Ford. I did have my own series quite a long time ago now, called Underground, which I might well resurrect at some point. But usually I'm just there to depth for other people if we've got any gaps. And as you say, my main job is making sure everything works behind the scenes.
Yeah. Question 5. What advice would you give to young, aspiring broadcasters who are starting out?
Various things. Look at and listen to experienced presenters. They can teach you an awful lot, even if you don't know, even if you don't like what they do particularly. If they're people who've been in their position a long time, there's a very good reason for it, and identifying the reasons for it will help you become a good broadcaster. And the other thing is, keep your ego to yourself. Don't go in there thinking you know it all, because the truth is probably that you know very little, and you really, I'll emphasize again, you really need to learn from all those people around you who've been doing it for a lot longer than you have.
Yeah.
But by the same token, never think anything is impossible. Always aim for the stars. Aim for the stars, and you might get about 10 feet off the ground. But every now and then, something you didn't think had a remote chance of coming off will come off if you keep going for it.
Yeah. Brilliant advice. That's it for today. Thank you for joining us, Richard.
No problem at all. Best of luck to you, Ben.
Do join me again soon for another podcast, but for now, please give it up for special guest Richard Pearson. But thank you very much for listening, and that's a wrap.
That was my interview with Richard Parsons from Radio Richard Pearson from Radio Scarborough. Hope you enjoyed it. That was episode 19. I apologise. My next interview will be with Neil Velger, so stay tuned for that. And I hope you enjoy it. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Stay safe. And I'll try and upload some more videos later on. Bye.